So I think the White Fang buffs are really overpowered and shouldn't be happening.
GM, GM. Guys, long time no podcast, and finally the season 1 or SS1 season is finally over. And I thought, who else would be a better podcast guest than Bok himself? And if you guys don't know who Bok is, he just started a YouTube channel and he's been streaming on Twitch very regularly, playing RTA non-stop, no lifing it. No one better to understand the meta and talk about the meta than Bok. And so I finally have him here on this Downtime Podcast talking about everything that has happened through season SS1 and what to expect going into season SS2. So without further ado, how are you doing, Bok?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to getting into what happened last season and what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah, I remember because you're in my Discord, you showed us that you went all the way down to Master 3 from 4,000 ELO and climbed all the way back up in 12 hours. How was that? And how did that even happen? What was your experience like doing that on purpose? Because that's what you said. You were playing CC Cleave and then you went all the way back down and then climbed back up. How was that? How was the feeling? Just let everyone know what it was like.
Well, dropping wasn't the most fun. Playing CC Cleave wasn't the most fun. But I was kind of doing. My account isn't geared towards CC Cleave, so we were trying it. My chat wanted to see me try, and they got to see me fail. I think they enjoyed that. But then climbing back up was kind of interesting because I got to see kind of different levels within Mythic. Because obviously, as you climb higher, you start to see more and more of the same types of builds, but in kind of the middle to lower rank, you see some interesting things. So it was actually really fun.
Yeah, 100%. And this is why, a lot of people have very different takes about this game. It's because literally it's all about where you are in the ELO bracket. And I try to tell people that because when you're in, let's say, in Masters, you are going to be facing a whole bunch more of cleaves and CC and a lot of copium builds, like full sets of Ember on every single person because they're using that to compensate onto other factors about their account. And you don't see that when you're up in the higher ranks. Up in the higher ranks, it's more standardized. This is, what you're going to face. You know what you can actually predict what your opponent is going to do next and plan ahead. Whereas when you're down here in, let's say, in Masters, maybe even in Diamond, I want to say, you just don't know what the hell is going to happen and you have to prepare for the worst. Did you have that kind of mentality or that kind of experience when you were down in that ranks?
Oh, 100%. Like sometimes you would just see out-of-pocket picks just come out like a first pick Sanya, and you're like, what's this doing here? Where's the Fushu? Where's the plume? Where's the Marie? And you just or you see like a full comp on Amber, Holden on Amber with Rahu on Amber, and it's just so different. Like when you're in the slightly lower mythic to the high end. Normally at the high end, you'll get like one or two picks that just come out of nowhere and that's out of pocket, and that's like their little pocket pick. But yeah, it's you could almost say it's a different game.
It is.
Would be the easiest way to.
And it's so difficult to actually tell people you have to build a unit like this because of XYZ, especially coming from like people who are much higher in the ELO bracket. Because what we see and what we experience is very different from what the people under the bottom rank they experience and feel. And so when I try to do my video guides and stuff like that, I try to give them the reasoning and the frameworks, because what I'm trying to do here is try to give them the idea that came about to this build. Because if they can extrapolate the way I did it and have that framework, then they can use that idea and build their units so that they can get out of that rank and then actually just copy pasta our builds, right? And I think that this is something that a lot of people lack. It's a skill that a lot of people lack, and I'm trying to build that up. How would you go about doing that though, considering the fact that you went all the way down there and you're like, what the hell is happening here? And then had to climb your way back out of that.
So the way that I did it is I just drafted like super standard. Because I tended to find that with these kind of more off-meta picks or off-meta builds, if you just draft super stat, it was almost like a routine. Two healers, two bruisers, and one turn push. And I would normally be okay with that and claim pretty consistently because you've got a bit of everything. You've got healing if they ban your heal. They can't ban both your healers. You've got 2 damage dealers, and then you've got one person to kind of boost whatever's happening in your team, be that via Fushu or be that being via Lily. Because sometimes you'll get ones that fill kind of dual purposes, like Fushu, which then frees you up to kind of have like a flex spot as your kind of last pick, which sometimes if, say, for example, someone locks all units, but they don't have any form of cleanse, in that flex spot, you just lock CC, they don't ban it, you win the game, type thing. What I will say, though, is while I was climbing back up, I did see some really interesting builds that actually made me think, and some of them completely cooked me. Like, came across a Sword 7 Rin and CC Cleave, and I played the same guy twice. He beat me both times with it, and it was cool, because you don't really see that at those higher ranks, and I don't really know why, because there is some builds out there that are just really strong that people just don't tend to use because of kind of gravitated towards one build and not really changed it. So flexibility in the way that you build is actually really important.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And so that's why I don't like I don't mind the way this entire Etheria restart has, shaped their character's kit, because one unit, there are many different ways that you can build them. Like, take for example, let's use a very, very obscure unit to think about different builds. Like the first build you can think about, let's go with Fushu. Okay, if you see Fushu, you know that unit is going to be the last on the turn meter bar because she's going to get her own turn meter. You definitely want Bulwark on her, because if she doesn't press S3, she does nothing. And when you look at the Fushu, you know it's going to be on Supernova, because Supernova just pairs extremely well with Moonlit Veil, and that's just the standard build. But what if I were to say, if you just extrapolate the way you play Fushu in a different way, for example, you play her at about 300-ish speed on Strive, and you let your opponent hit you, you take the turn, you press S1 or S2 to push your other units forward, because you don't have to press Moonlit Veil yet, let your unit cut, because all your units are already 300 plus speed, and you can cut their initiator or their next unit, and that unit just takes out a unit from your opponent's team. Fushu now laps to the front because you have so much speed on her that her brocade is just going to push it to the front, and then you put Moonlit Veil up, and you stabilize that way. That's another way you can play her, right? I don't know if you've thought about it that way.
No, 100%. And there's some the Japanese players, for example, they're playing a lot of CC Cleave, and they've actually switched their Fushu over to fast builds. Either on some of them are still running Supernova, but some of them have actually moved over to Halloween, and they're running like 300 speed Fushus. And it's just, they're still going into CC, but they're taking away the Fushu, and they're also giving themselves some survivability by having the Fushu. So and then if you do hit them, you're also boosting their whole team while they've got that extra survivability. It's cool to see. But it's like back in Season 0, I used to run Fushu on Strive and with Lighthouse, and she used to be my answer to Cleave.
Yeah.
Because as soon as she hit, she's basically going, and then you're stabilized. But it's almost like having a specific reason to build a unit like that. Like, one of the things that I've been trying to tell people is, like, specifically with your healers, it's always good to have a reason to build the healer like that. So say, for example, you got yourself, and she's your primary CC dealer or CC kind of healer, and then you've got your Fushu, which is your primary bruiser healer, and having kind of pockets for reasons to build them in that way, if that makes sense. Not just kind of, because it's very hard to have like a one fits all type build, because then you're just kind of lacking stats in certain areas. Whereas if you've got that niche for why you're building them, it makes it a lot easier.
And I created a masterclass all around this, which the whole topic of my masterclass was build with intention. And that is what Bok is talking about, guys. You have to build a unit with an intent. What are you trying to do with that unit? And if you're going to be using that unit for that role, you don't mix it with a different role. Okay? Like if you build your Sylph to just counter CC, don't draft her in a bruiser draft. It's not going to work. You're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. Even though she is a healer, she's not going to do what she's supposed to do at 100%. And so you can see in a lot of top players, right, including myself, Bok, all the top players in the top 100, we all have our units built in a very specific way. And when we build a unit, we are thinking, okay, if I build this unit like this, it's because I want to do XYZ, and if XYZ conditions are met, that's when I draft them. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, 100%. I think the easiest example of that is if you look at the kind of 4 healers. You've got your Linglo, Sylph, your Red Chiaki, and your Sanya. You can have one built Sylph for CC, Red Chiaki for cleave. Just put her on Lighthouse with Strive, because she's your best answer into that. Then you've got Linglo, she's kind of your all-purpose one, and then Sanya you build on full HP, and then she's your bruiser healer. Like, just as a little example. But yeah, it's very important to do, especially if you're wanting to climb into those higher ranks.
Yeah, and if you extrapolate that even further, not just healers, even your bruisers. Like, there are 2 types of Holden builds, right? That's the Jackal Guard build, that's the Artisan build. And when do you use the Jackal Guard build? When do you use the Artisan build? You also have to think about that dynamic, which is very, very interesting. And that's why I really like the way all the kits in Etheria Restart has been created to make a unit. It's not, okay, this unit must be played like this. If not, it does not work. You can play it however the hell you want, to be very honest with you. So that's something that I really enjoy.
Like, just before we were on this, we were talking about the Lilim, if you want her to counter Strive, to counter CC with the Reaper steps on Strive and just get her to fly to the front and one-shot something. Couldn't use her in a bruiser draft, but she'd be amazing into CC.
Yep, she'll be amazing into CC. I've done that. I've actually made a video on that. I was just talking about it, and I've also tried her on Amber. If you want to play her as an anti-cleave setup, you can as well. Let her die. That's fine. She's coming back. She's pressing S2 or S3, and she's gonna, come back and just steal the show. Because don't forget, the S2 is a guaranteed stun on the entire team. So that is an amazing way to look at PvP as a whole. And speaking about PvP, when we are talking about RTA, do you agree that there are seasons where cleave and aggro is super strong, but that as the season goes on longer and longer and longer, everything starts tanking down and tapering down and just bulking up, and then eventually right at the tail end in the last few hours of RTA, you start seeing all of them start cleaving because they're just trying to race for points. Did you feel that at all in this season?
So I did and I didn't. What I've tended to find with CC and cleave is a lot of the time when I run into them, or in the higher ranks, I'll run into someone and I don't know kind of what they pick, all that type of thing, and they go into CC cleave. But the more I play against them, the more comfortable I get with them, and I kind of understand more of their box. Again, probably a slightly higher thing because you're playing the same people multiple times, but I feel like they don't adapt their builds and they kind of just stay the same. So whereas I figure out ways to deal with it, and then it kind of falls back a bit until they come up with something new, and then they push again. So I feel like CC Cleave almost has like this yo-yo effect, where they push super hard, but then they get figured out, fall, and then push super hard again once they have something like some new toy or some new tweak to their builds. But whereas I feel like Bruiser just tends to be more stable, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And I did say, and I think you will agree with this, if you hate losing, just play Bruisers. If you hate losing, just play Bruisers, because it is so safe. The options are very, very safe in your box. There's nothing that you can do that can fundamentally break it unless it's RNG based, right? And so That's how I always looked at bruises in general. If you want to climb and you want to have a steady climb, that's how you should be playing. But if you try to play something more in the lines of aggro CC, you're playing a 50-50 game. And you cannot get mad at that, because that was the life you chose.
Yep. And especially when it comes down to like CC versus CC or cleave versus cleave, it's just whoever's faster wins type thing.
And now pivoting into that, because most important, pivoting into that because you just talked about it. How do you feel about the balance patch?
So I think the balance patch on the whole is pretty good. I agree with most of the things in there. There's some of them that I'm a bit, I don't think that needed a buff, but I'm not gonna say no, especially Doki, because I have Doki built. However, I do think there is some things that potentially could have changed as well that didn't, but there's some things that I've seen a lot of people that are talking about, one specific being Amber, where they think Amber needed a nerf, and I understand the call for Amber to be nerfed, because it kind of reminds me of Rev back in Season 0, where I feel like Amber is an issue kind of in the lower end, but at the top end it's not. So it's kind of similar. It gives me similar vibes to Rev. I will say though that Amber is a problem in GVG, which is a completely separate thing.
It is a completely separate thing, and I agree too on that point there. See, I agree with most of what you say. When I read it the first time, I was like, "Where's Amber?" Because we got hyped that Amber was going to get was going to get touched some way or another, and we were like, "Okay, we're waiting for that." The balance patch comes, we are like, "Did Amber just became the greatest escape artist? What the hell happened here? Where is it?" Right? But after sitting on it and just simmering in the balance patch, I think that this balance patch is actually okay. It's not horrible. And I'll give you a couple of reasons, and let's see how many you agree with, okay? Number one, we always need a shell to be present as the necessary evil. Because if that shell disappears, we are just going to hunt down for the next unit to become that necessary evil, quote unquote. Example, Rev was the necessary evil that we needed, and everyone gunned it down, put it onto the stake, and just absolutely pitchforked the living shit out of it. Fair enough. Devs listened once, Rev got nerfed, and now we are in a meta where we're going, Amber needs to get nerfed, Amber needs to get nerfed, Amber needs to get nerfed. Let's play out the scenario here, alright? If Amber got nerfed, what was the next one on the chopping block? Very quickly, I'll tell you, it's Reaper Steps. Why is Reaper Steps no cooldown? Reaper Steps is retarded, what, blah, 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 blah. And I can already foresee that was going to be the case if Amber ever got touched, right? And so, if you keep doing that over a long period of time, where every time you say, this needs to be nerfed, this shell needs to be nerfed, it gets nerfed, and something takes over its place, this needs to be nerfed, something takes over this place. You do this enough times and the game becomes literally unplayable, and the shells are just no longer what they used to be ever. Okay? And that in the long run is just horrible in the sense of the longevity of the game. That's point number one. Okay? Point number two, I think that this balance patch is actually pretty fair and nice because of a reason that, or a statement that I like to tell people now. You want to look at a meta not warped because of a balance patch, but you want to see a meta evolve through new units, buffed units, and awakened units. If a balance patch completely warps the meta, there is no reason for them to create a whole meta of units, because what they'll be doing now is they'll be selling you solutions. And I don't want them to be selling us solutions to a problem they created through breaking the entire meta through a balance patch. And so I think that the way they did it was very careful, very modest, and it made a lot of sense. They creeped the power level of certain units very minor, by a very minute amount. And the way they did it was, if you look back at season SS1, they gave Hellkit the push in his shield by 15%. They looked at the data and they're like, okay, Hellkit didn't do much anyway. We now can give it a little 5% more. Let's give it 5% more to his shield push. And maybe this time his problem is because of his tankiness. Okay, maybe if you don't have high enough attack versus him, you just cannot crit. That's fair. I think that's fair. Now Hellkit might have a home if you can find a way to draft and work out his weaknesses, which is like buff blocks and Veronicas and buff stealing, basically. And so you will slowly see the meta evolve as we play with new units, because we know 5 more new units are coming, awakened units are coming, and now we have buff units like Ninfornio, Hoyan, Batsby, Mia. All these units got buffed. Now they can find, a home in here eventually, right? Without completely warping the entire meta. So that's what I like. That's the second point. The third point, okay, and this is the last one. When you talk about a balance patch, you are basically looking at, okay, what performed and what didn't perform, and what would you like to see more play that is already in your player base's roster, right? Because if you're talking about the free-to-plays, their rosters are limited. And if you can see that, alright, a lot of people have Ninfornio, a lot of people have Batsby, but they aren't being played. Let's buff them a little bit so that they can actually compete a little bit more and your people have more reasons to invest tofus into them. I think that's completely fair, and that's what you actually want from a balance patch, to be very honest. What do you think?
So, on point 3, I agree that things need to change in terms of buffs for units that are underutilized, but I think that there's some buffs that are just kind of too much. So if we use Batsby as an example, the people that have Batsby built and can actually use them they probably wouldn't have said he needed a buff. If anything, maybe just the speed buff, or what he got on his S3 in terms of the extra 5% push so that he can S3 into S2 without getting cut. The additional, what is it? It's a 2.5x increase on his damage, I think, because it's going from 10% to 25%. I think that's just going to kind of push him over the top. So I'm assuming now in debuff comps, he'll probably deal similar damage to Messiah. Whereas I don't think he was originally intended to be that. He was intended to be like this S3 into S2 quick cycle multi-hit type thing. Whereas I think in this, with his S3, with this additional damage, it could just cleave and then that's it. So on that point, I'm kind of like, just because a unit's underutilized at the moment doesn't mean he needs massive buffs. It's kind of like if we go back a patch before, you had the Rahu buff that kind of came out of nowhere. But at that time, he was probably the least played out of the 3 bruisers.
Yep.
So sometimes I think they just kind of go slightly too far with the buffs. But the Nymphoneal buff I think is great. I think again it might be slightly too much, but the only buff that I don't really understand is the Doki buff.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, because she was already the best cleanser in the game. I don't know if you'd agree, but
I agree to the extent where if she actually does cleanse out all the debuffs, she is probably one of the best ones to do it. But the problem is her survivability. That has always been her problem, and so giving her the Purify All, I don't quite see the point there. Because if you are, playing against CC, let's be real, it's going to be against Mio and Nahor. And if you are frozen, you are not getting turn meter pushed anyway. And so your units are still going to get naturally pushed. And when Doki takes a turn, she's just putting out the backup stacks. Doesn't matter, she's too squishy because you run her on Swift Rush, Strive, Swift Smite, or Swift Raid. And she's just going to just kick the bucket very, very quickly anyway. And the backup stacks are just not going to do anything. So her buffs for me, I was just like, fair enough. At least now, if my unit takes a turn, you can put 50,000 stacks on me. I'm still going to cleanse it all. cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely added a lot more consistency. But I don't know. The other thing in terms of like buffs and nerfs are probably the one I would say that is the only thing in the patch that, or not in the patch, for me at least. Because if you look across the vast majority of games, there's 3 units in pretty much all of them. Plume, Raymarie, and Fushu. And Fushu's been in basically every Bruiser match since she came out. Plume's been in almost every match since she came out, and Raymarie's been in almost every match since she came out. And I would say in itself, whether the units are too strong or not, I would say that in itself is a problem. Because I don't think there should be a unit that's in every draft. Because the unit should need to make sense to be in a draft. But they're just kind of really strong first pick, because I can do anything with them, and it doesn't really matter what you pick, they're going to be good. Whereas I think there should be pluses and minuses to units all the time. And they're just too strong for that.
I think that right now, because we only have 70 plus units in the game, whenever we first pick a Plume, Fushu, or a Raymarie, we can tell what kind of team they are going to create or draft into. Like, for example, I don't know if you've noticed this or experienced it, because I do it myself, and I see some people do it as well. As I said, observation. If you play a Raymarie draft, or if you start off with Raymarie first pick, chances are you are playing a Lily draft. Your Lily's going to be on 3, and then you're going to either eat another DPS, or you're going to be eating Nahor, Lily, Lilith kind of thing. Lilium, Lilith kind of thing. If you play a Plume draft, it's usually either a CC draft, or it's going to be just a standard bruiser with a strip plus defense break. And so the way the first picks are right now, which is revolving around Plume, Raymarie, Fushu, they're all all the teams are built around them at the moment, which I think will change once we hit more units, because that's how it is at the moment. Like, for example, if we look back into season 1, even at season 1, because we didn't have a lot of units at the time. Plume wasn't around until like the second half of season 1. Everyone was first picking Lily, and everyone was first picking Fushu. So it was all around Lily. And does that mean that Lily was too strong? Probably not, because it's more the fact that we have a lack of rosters at units at the moment. And so if we look forward into the future now, or the current present, it's just that Raymarie is just strictly a better choice to pick over Lily to be your first pick at the moment. So we just do that along with Plume, and Fushu is just your standard bruiser draft anyway. And I think that if we look now, we have the calendar, and we can see we have Helene, Sanyu, Santique, Familiar, and Lowen coming. Maybe one of them might just become the first pick candidate. And then now the first pick candidates that we have, which is Plume, Raymarie, Fushu, might just broaden up now. Would you agree?
Maybe. I mean, I think this is all just kind of speculation on my side, but it's really hard to say without seeing win rates for the champions, because obviously my win rate with specific champions will be different to someone else's. So it'd be interesting to see if we could see the win rate across the board.
I think they were making something along the lines of that, right? They did say in the Hyper Talk they were developing something like that.
Yeah, which would be great to see, because then, say for example, if everybody's betting at a 50% win rate, the game's perfectly balanced. But then if you've got someone sitting at like a 65% win rate, then that needs touched. Or is it the fact that this unit's only being played like 1 or 2 games, and that's why they've got such a high win rate, because kind of niche pick type thing? Like, it wouldn't surprise me if you get something like Kakardi that has a really high win rate because he's only picked in specific drafts.
Yep.
But there's a reason for that. So it'd be interesting to see that, because at the moment it's just kind of speculation on my side, because the way that the games have gone for me since the release of the thing is basically, if I'm first pick, it's Raymarie. If my opponent's first pick, it's Raymarie, irrespective of CC, Cleave, or Bruiser. And then if Raymarie's banned, irrespective of CC, Cleaver, Bruiser, it's for sure Plume.
Yep. I mean,
First
to be
pick.
fair, that's my experience as
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
I think that is just the whole concept of our RTA at the moment, which I hopefully we'll see change in the future, because again, 74 units, there's still not a whole lot of very good first choice picks at the moment. Like, if I were to look back into Ep.8 time, okay, I don't know if you played Ep.8. Did you play Ep.8?
I didn't.
Okay, so when I stopped playing, during that time, it was always whoever got first pick will always first pick Conqueror Lilius, and the opposition will always pick Mediator Koweric, which is hand guy. Okay, I don't know if you have any friends who play E7. You can see that the second you say these two names, they will be like, oh, that used to be the first two picks for like at least a good 6 months, and those units were, pretty new at the time as well. So it was always who went first was always going to play a Conqueror Lilius draft, and whoever went second was always going to play a Mediator Koweric draft, unless you were cleaving, unless you were playing CC. Then it will be a different comp altogether. But if you were playing standard, if you go first, it was always Conqueror Lilius. If you were going second, it was always something plus. It was always Angel of Light, the Angelica with Mediator Koweric. It was always the case. Always, 100% the case. And so I can see that right now happening in Etheria Restart, where if you're first pick, you're always trying to play a Ray Mary draft, because Ray Mary draft can either be you're playing a Lily draft or you're playing Cleave. Whereas if you're second pick and you're going second and your opponent first picks Ray Mary, you're always taking Fushu and you're taking Plume, and you're going to be playing that Bruiser draft with Plume and Fushu just being your tempo givers and sustain. So I think that will change in the future, 100%, and I don't think that they are so much of a problem really, because especially since you've jammed so many games, I'm pretty sure if someone plays a Ray Mary draft, you just know, alright, if you play Ray Mary draft, this is what I'll be playing on against you, and this is how I'll react towards your Ray Mary draft. Is that how it is for you?
Kind of, but that in itself is kind of muddying it a bit for me. More so because every draft's becoming the same.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same picks every single time. Does that make sense?
I also think it's because we keep facing the same people over and over and over again, and so you just
This is very true.
So you just know the habit of that person. Like, if he plays a Ray Mary draft, it's usually going to be a Lily draft alongside Nahor, like that kind of thing, right? And yeah. I also played I played ANPX a whole ton, and I know if I don't take Plume, he is going to take Plume, and he's going to take Freya. That is just his go-to. Yep. That's just his go-to. I just know, right? And so now that I know I'm going to go first, and he's never going to pick Ray Mary, because he can't pick Ray Mary, I'm going first, I'll just ban the Plume, take the Ray Mary, and now I have to make him change his entire playstyle completely. And that was because I played him like maybe over 20 times to actually figure out, you need Ray Mary if I take Plume for you to have a chance to even beat me, that kind of thing. And so, do you think if this Chinese or the CNJP Taiwan server, Korea server, comes over into a merger with us, how do you think that would look like? How would you envision that to look like? Like, do you think that us in the global server, Asia server, Europe server is just going to curb stomp them right now? Or do you think right now it's just the perfect time for them to mesh with us?
I mean, I think that they do need to come across, because we do need the additional kind of boost to the player base in RTA. But right now, I don't know if what's been happening over there in terms of have they had any catch-up mechanics in terms of ways they can get lattices, things like that. Because at the moment, it would almost just be a kind of too far behind in terms of lattices and units built. I think they would still be able to reach mid-mythic, but I think breaching that final gap would be pretty hard for them at the moment, unless they've had that additional way to catch up.
They definitely had some form of catch-up mechanic. I don't know if you watched the EWS Asia's Champions account review. Did you watch that by any chance?
No, I didn't.
Okay, I will link it to you. you can see that he has a lot of units built. He has at least about 20 units built, I want to say. 20 units minus a Rahu.
Oh no, if that's the case, then I think they'd be absolutely fine.
And you know what's the best part about it all? Our high, what did we stop at for our elo? What was Seraphic's final score? Do you remember?
4,609 or 8.
4,609 or 8. Carrie, who is the EWS Asia champion, I think you know Carrie. He was in the Korea team for the Global Fest tournament.
Oh, okay.
He is currently sitting at 4,650, and the season was not over when they had the EWS. That was when he qualified, and that was his points.
Wow.
That was his points before qualification, and no inflation, by the way.
That's impressive, but
that's insane. That's a
would...
fuck ton of play. That's a shitload of games in comparison. No.
Yes and no, because it really depends. So because of the way that it's kind of working at the top end, is I could play 4 games, lose 1, and I'll lose points.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends how many players they have kind of in that bracket towards the top end. Because if they have more, say, like at the moment, if you look at the 4,300 plus, there was 9 players in 4,300 plus.
Mm-hmm.
If they had, say, 100 players in 4,300 plus, they're all playing each other more, so they're going to push each other higher. So I don't know how high the player base is there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because if you think about it that way, if they did not have enough players to play to the point where 4K fights 4K, so that, you know, the elo deficit is not fucking ridiculous like how we are here, it just means that their activity in RTA is extremely healthy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so because they're
to be honest, it sounds like they just have so many more players actually playing RTA.
Yeah, exactly. Because they actually play to compete and actually to have fun and actually do well. That's the competition nature of like Asian people.
That's one of the things I'm most looking forward to them when they do it, if they do eventually kind of patch across as well. Because I'm assuming we have completely different metas, and we'll build things in completely different ways for the most part.
Yeah, see,
there'll be some kind of crossover, but I would assume they build things slightly differently.
Their idea is very different. Like for them, they think that rest is a fake stat. You never ever go triple rest ever. You never ever go triple rest. That's their mentality. You put one rest piece, and all you're really hoping for is just to resist all the S1s that's coming out of your bruises. So like your Holden's S2, your Holden's S1, your Rahu's S1, all that kind of stuff. That's what you want to resist. But if you're talking about CC, you're never resisting anyway. Don't fucking matter. Put it all into stats. Make sure you're bulky enough. That's their mentality over there. I'll link you the video later so you can watch it. But is their
play just to try and survive throughout the CC, and then once the CC's kind of ended, then win?
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. That was his. When Carrie was going through his units and was talking about why he did certain things and built things in certain ways, that was his reasoning. He's like, you should always just put one effect resistance on your healers, and that's all she really needs. Because all you're trying to do is just resist a defense break, because that is detrimental to you. You're trying to resist a full cooldown a full reset on your skills from Holdens, because that's detrimental to you. But if you're trying to resist against CC and you put triple rest, you are just asking to just die to everything else. That is not CC. And that even then you are still going to lose to CC, because it's a fake stat.
No, that's completely fair. Sometimes I feel like ER is just a fake stat.
Yeah, I do feel it too. I'm not gonna lie to you. That was a game I lost the game because my Linglo hook with 270 effect resistance got fully resetted by Holden, who is already affinity disadvantage to my Linglo.
Yep.
And he just decided to press S2 into my Reaper Ling, and my Ling just went full cooldown to the back of the whole bar. I was like, what the fuck? Why did I even put F-res on you, man?
Yeah. There's nothing worse when something like that happens. It's a 10% chance it happens, and you just kind of lose the game there.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there like, doesn't matter if I'm P5555 here. It doesn't fucking matter if I'm a whale here. You just got you just got the blessing of the stars. I can't stop that.
You lost the 10%. That's it. GG.
GG, go next, right? And so that was that's the entire idea of the Asian side, and the runner-up is sitting at about 4.2k elo as well, because they were showing the stats of the players, and they showed Carry was at 4.6, the second player was at 4.2. So I assume that this is like right in 3 to 4 weeks left before the whole RTA season was over, and they're already at that elo, which means that their RTA is just so healthy. Whereas over here for us, if you ever matchmake and you're trying to grind out a session, you are playing the same 3 to 4 people consistently, non-stop.
Yep.
And to be fair, that is something that I hope changes in the future, where when the merger happens, our RTA becomes a lot more lively. A lot more lively.
Yeah. 100%. One of the things that they've already said they're going to change as well, though, is the way the matchmaking works. Because I'm hoping that when I'm sitting at like 4,400, if I get there again, I don't matchmake into Masters 2 players, because that just feels bad for me and feels bad for them. Because if they win, fantastic for them. They get like, what, 40-something points? Whereas I lose 40 points, and if I win, I gain 5. And it just doesn't feel great either way.
I mean, to be fair, I'll tell you a funny story that happened in E7 as well. This is pretty funny. Okay, are you ready? When we were in off season, of season 6, I think. Season 6. We were in an off season. I was watching a streamer play. He was just playing the off season, just grinding points. You know, when you win one, you gain 40 points. When you lose one, you lose 40 points. Fair enough. He won a game, and he won -20.
Huh?
He won the game, but he -20 elo against a lower ranked player. So he was like, let's say he's mythic, and he versed a master 1 player, or even a diamond 3. Diamond 3 is a diamond and platinum 3 player. One of those, right? It was in the cusp of Master 1. He won that and lost 20 elo. And the guy just disappeared from stream for like a good 10 minutes because he just could not understand what the fuck happened.
No, I'm glad we're not quite at that point.
Yeah, it was off season, so it didn't really matter so much.
Yeah.
But it was just the funniest thing I saw in the longest time. I was like, how did this even happen? So I understand, right? Even E7 already has this matchmaking problem or discrepancy, and that's because in the off season no one plays RTA. Everyone's just farming because you can infinite farm in E7, right? And so our problem here is that, I don't know if you agree with this, and probably this can be like the second last topic we'll talk about before the last topic, that is Nether Quarry. Okay. Do you agree that the problem that Etheria has is that at the start of the game, they pulled the wrong crowd?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Because let me give you my arguments first, and then you can go off that. Why I say they pulled the wrong crowd at the start of the game is because they went for the crowd that is more PvE based. The Hoyo versus, right? The HSR, the turn-based PvE, just to do your dailies, grind, log out for a month, come back again when a new patch comes out, grind that all out again, leave. And everything's given to you. You can have everything under the sun. That's fine. Whereas over here, you don't get that. So tofus are scarce, materials are scarce, you have to farm them, you have to work for it, RNG is a bitch, all that kind of stuff. That's gear grinders for you anyway. Why I say that is because those people came in expecting all of the stuff for the PvE side that you know, Hoyoverse and all those kind of PvE games tend to do, without all of that stuff. And then they add competition on top of that. And so these players are just not built for it. and they are already, to be fair, I don't want to sound like the bad guy here, but they are mostly drama seekers anyway. Okay? And so they will try to find every single little pocket of anything that they can nitpick and just nitpick on that. And just create this environment of the game where it just feels, ugh.
Can I flip a question back on you?
Mm-hmm.
If the game was in the state it was right now, with all the quality of life changes, say to like Amber Track, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
do you think those players would have stayed?
I personally don't think they will.
No?
I personally don't think they will.
Fair enough.
And
because I think there's been a lot of quality of life changes that have just made the game.
I think the quality of life changes really help the players who are already loyal to this kind of genre to begin with. It just makes us less required to grind non-stop, and it gives us more free time, which is great. That's something that a lot of people need anyway. Not everyone can just sit there and just play the game 24/7. Fair enough. But the people that already are doom posting and, creating all of this unnecessary drama, I want to say, not to say that all of them are horrible, but most of it is like, but why, man? Right?
Yeah.
Those people,
I mean,
are already here and they're just nitpicking. Even if you give them all of this quality of life or change, they will still always try to find something. Like, for example, we got all of this hyper top. The hyper top was pretty damn good, and they still went, but reset event.
Yeah. I think that's just. I feel like that's just the way with gachas, though, isn't it? Like, nobody ever talks about the positives. The negatives, the thing that's always the most loud, and it's always the thing you'll see the most. Whereas the positives tend to get drowned out.
Yeah, that's why I posed the question to you at the start. Do you think that they pulled the wrong crowd at the start of the game?
So, I do and I don't. Because I think games like this should try and pull some of that crowd. Because at the end of the day, it's the biggest crowd. And
Agreed.
they need... And Etheria was marketing itself as the most free-to-play friendly version of RTA games. At least that's kind of what I got from the initial. So if you're going to pull some people from that crowd, then surely that would be the best way to do it, by marketing yourself as a free-to-play friendly RTA game, kind of an introductory game for those style of games. So I don't think it was wrong to go after that kind of crowd. But did that necessarily push away some of the more kind of hardcore people that would want to play it, like your E7 players, your Summoners War players, etc.? I don't know. I didn't play those games. Do you think it did?
From what I know from the E7 scene, they came into this game thinking that they were gonna, just start fresh, dominate, and go from there. But because of all of the negativity that was wrapping around the game, they just got sick and tired and was like, why should I leave a game that I'm already well established in for something that I have to start fresh with all the drama?
Okay.
Or at least that was the feedback that I got.
If that was the feedback you got, what do you think ER could do now to either, one, bring those players back, or two, bring players back that have already left?
Honestly, I actually don't know. I actually have no answer to that. I think that if they're going to bring players in, it's usually just through free resources, like how everyone does it in every other game. Where I was talking to the one earlier last week, where I said this kind of PvP games, usually we will have a massive spike at the start. Everyone is hype, honeymoon phase. Everyone's going to try it. Then we're going to start going down and down and down and down until we find an equilibrium, and those will be the loyal fan base, and that will sit there for a long period of time. And then in between that, we will have little spikes of players where the 6 months anniversary, the Black Friday, the New Year's, all that kind of stuff, where we'll have a little spike in players, and then it will taper down again. But this time, instead of coming all the way down here, we have someone somewhere about here now. This many more players, and that is just going to keep happening. and just keep forming higher lows and higher highs, and eventually we'll just have that nice, healthy, range of players. And that's how this game is going to be anyway. And I'm glad that I'm part of this.
So am I. But do you think a mid-season balance patch would help at all with that? Because the way that I've kind of seen it, and from speaking to quite a few players, if a meta doesn't suit their playstyle or something like that, and it's not going to suit their playstyle for 2 months, because its balance patches are every 2 months, do you think a mid-season balance patch that maybe tweaks something ever so slightly, like nothing major, just like small tweaks, would help bring some players back? Because I mean, in terms of, because you might have a player that's playing right now, and then they see the new meta, they're kind of like, don't like this, so they kind of just go in maintenance mode for 2 months and wait out the season. Because there was a few players that done that last season.
Yeah. Well, my personal experience, I come from E7, where it's a 3 months long season, and they never do balance patches in between seasons ever, and you just have to wait it out. And so the way we all approached it, or at least that's something that has been trained into me, is we don't play the first 2 months ever. We don't play the first 2 months, we just grind the living hell out of it and let the other players figure out the meta. Once the meta is figured out, then the last 4 weeks is when we will start to build our characters that we are going to use into RTA, and then start climbing for Mythic at that point. And that was how we were always doing it. And I think that's also something that is a bit more nuanced to that, is because in E7, to unequip your gear, you have to pay gold. You have to pay to unequip, unless you do it on the free unequip week that they give you, which is once every 2 weeks.
Could you imagine that in Etheria restart?
Oh, fucking, we will be dead. They will lose their minds. But we did have to pay. We had to pay an unequipped cost of like maybe 100k per unequip each slot. So there's 6 slots, that's 600k, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to do it for like all your characters, which is why we never do that. We just put our farming gear onto our units because we never had, PvE, PvP loadouts, kind of thing. We'll just put all our best gear onto our PvP so that we can speed farm for 2 months, 2.5 months. Then, when the free unequip comes, right before the end of RTA, unequip all of them, re-equip into all of our PvP units the way we want to play them, go into RTA, smash out, get the Mythic, get Legend rank, call it a day. And that was the cycle, right? Speaking about mid-season balance patches, I don't know how to tackle that, because I've never actually seen a mid-season balance patch before, and I've never experienced it. It may be a good thing. It may be a good thing.
So, like, if I was to give you an example, so, like, if we look at the change that happened to Nivette, I would say that's like a end of season or start of season buff, because it's a massive change to her kit.
Nivette?
Not Nivette. Nymphoneal. Nymphoneal. Yeah, it's a massive change to her kit in the way that she functions. Whereas if we look at the change that's happened to Nivette, it's just a tiny tweak to her numbers. So like, I would say that's more something that should sit in like a mid-season balance patch type thing. Like small tweaks to numbers, because let's say, for example, there's a unit that's sitting at, when they bring out this thing, there's a unit that's sitting at 45% win rate, but a small tweak to their numbers is all they really need, whereas there's another unit that's sitting at like a 40% win rate and they need like a big buff, if you know what I mean. Like just small tweaks just to keep the meta slightly fresh.
So your small tweaks is in relation to like something like a Nivette change?
Yeah, so like, you know how like right now in the balance patch they've gave her an additional 20% damage, or on her skill 3. I think overall it works out at like it's like a 12.5% increase. So that would be like your small tweak throughout the season, whereas at the end of the season you would get the big changes, like the change to Doki Doki where she cleanses everything, or the change to Nymphoneal where she now puts defense up, attack up, and gives you a 25% damage bonus. Like the big changes would happen at like your end of season or start of season.
I think that would be quite akin to us having the change to Lilium in season 1, right?
Similar, yeah.
I think something like that. If a unit that they release in the middle of the season is just super underwhelming. I think just a small tweak to them just to make them relevant could be fine. Could be fine. But if you're using the vet as an argument, I think that the problem there is that everyone builds the Navette with like 1.8 to 2k attack and expect her to do Born's level of damage when you're building Born at like 6k attack, and you can see the difference in discrepancy in attack power and just attack stat.
Yeah.
And you know,
I was more just
the level, you know, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I agree.
I was more just using the vet as because that's one of the changes in the recent balance patch. Whereas like that could be something they could just tweak on the fly. It doesn't need to be like a whole end of wait to the end of the season to tweak that, because it's just a small increase to damage.
On that will have to be a unit that they just released, right? They have to do it for a unit that they just released in the middle of the season, and then everyone plays them. Felt like this is super underwhelming, the damage is just not it, and then you tweak that immediately.
Because I'd almost rather that they release units slightly underbaked and then tweak them, as opposed to releasing them slightly overcooked and then they're everywhere and they're slightly too strong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see the vision.
Can I ask, because this has kind of been, who would you say, or what's your highlight of the patch?
The patch notes or the balance patch?
The balance patch, sorry.
The highlight for me, it has to be Hoyan.
Hoyan?
Has to be Hoyan.
Are you going to run her in like a double pump comp with Suki and Beyonton?
You could. I mean, to be fair, you can build her the way you want her to function and still let her do the double pump thing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because right now, with the extra 8% defense ignore, I think it's still correct to still run her on Harvest. You just force Harvest with Bulwark. And I think because of this extra 8% now, she can go back onto Count instead of Tiger Yin. And the problem I found with Hoyan a lot of the time is that if you don't bring any healers and you're on Tiger Yin, the second she presses S2, S3, she's done. That's it. You're done.
Yep.
Whereas if you have the chance to go back onto Count while having an additional defense ignore, which means you can life leech more, now she has sustainability in the form of Count giving her life leech. And so if she sticks around after she's S3 and you've procced her S2, that's when she actually becomes scary, in my opinion. And that's why I think she is, my highlight, because there are so many times I will see, all right, this is where I bring Hoyan, but I didn't lock my healer on 3. So if they let my Hoyan through, but they also ban my healer, I also lose a DPS at the same time. That was my problem. And so having this now means I can put her back onto Count, getting more lifesteal while still doing a good amount of damage, potentially even nuking nuking units right now. I think it's great. I think that has to be my highlight.
Fair. No, I'm looking forward to seeing Hoyan, because my Hoyan's kind of gathering dust. I think I picked her like 1 in 100 games.
Yeah, I think I picked a total of like 25 games out of my 300 that I played, and that was usually, I think 24 of them was me counter cleaving, and one of them was me just saying, I can just use Hoyan and just kill off your DPS and you have no answer whatsoever, because you brought a Sanya and a DPS, 1 DPS, and now you have anti-revive.
Yep.
That was the only time I ever used her. So that was my highlight of the balance patch. What about yours?
Oh, for me, it's definitely Nymphonia.
Fair. 100% fair.
I was already using Bruiser Nymphonial in Season 1, and I 4-5-5'd her back in Season 1, and she was a lot of fun, and she's just got a lot stronger.
Yeah, so she's now become super adaptable.
Yeah. Now she fits basically any Bruiser draft or Cleave style draft, which is kind of insane. Um, I might be able to go back to my Cleave Rahu that I was running for a while, where he had 330 crit damage, because that with that, it's. Do you know what? That additional 25% damage might be enough to just do that little bit
I
extra
really
that I
like that
needed.
how they
So,
changed Rhyme Bloom to damage output now instead of
yeah,
just flat 40% attack, because it was
yeah,
very
100.
restrictive in the sense.
It definitely was, and in fact, that's just more damage overall anyway,
Mm-hmm.
than the 40%, even for attack scalers. Pretty sure.
I think the argument that we have here for Ninfonio is that she is one of the three main units that can provide immunity, because you have Kachi the goat, you have Ling, and now we have Ninfonio. But Ninfonio was always the worst one to pick out of the three because of her very, very long cooldowns, for one. And number
Yep.
two, the only way you could ever play her was to play her with attack scalers. And when you're playing with attack
Yep.
scalers, they were already squishy. Holden can just easily just clap them to by Kingdom Come. So that was her main problem. And that's fixed
I'm looking
already.
forward to running some more Kakardi with Nymphoneal, but now she actually works with other units, not
Yeah,
just Kakardi.
yeah.
So I can have like a Rahu or something in there as well that's actually threat, so that my Nymphoneal isn't just
Even
getting...
Lowen to an extent, right? That's coming
Yeah,
out, the new unit.
yeah,
Even to Lowen to an extent, because now Lowen's going to deal more damage and she's going to constantly perma lock something down while having immunity at that. And because she's going to take significantly less damage through the Exaltation special debuff, that Rhyme Bloom's staying on her forever, bro.
yeah. It's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting one, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think she's looking super strong.
Yeah, I think Lowen and Santique are very, very interesting. And the reason why I'm not talking about them and not asking about your opinions is because we did this before they actually implemented them into the archives. Because just reading the kit is all well and good, but if we don't know the multipliers, we don't know the cooldowns, it's hard to talk about that unit. Agree?
Yeah, 100% agree.
So let's talk about the last topic here before we wrap off. Nether Quarry. We were talking a little bit about it off stream, but
Yep.
I believe that Nether Quarry is the most goated PvE content the game currently has because of the amount of resources you get from it. And so my question to you here is, do you think it is worthwhile spending your tofus, if you're a PvP player, to level up your PvE units, for example, Rosa, Chloros, who were the two main culprits of getting extremely high scores in Nether Quarry?
So, loaded question. I think it depends. I think if you're wanting to push for like top 100 in Nether Quarry, then yes, it's probably worth doing. However, if you're just wanting to hit Overlord, and you'll still get the vast majority of things when you hit Overlord, then no, because you can hit Overlord with using things like Fungus and all that in place of using Chloros, for example. Because like I myself don't have Chloros built, don't have Rosa built, don't have any of that, and was still pretty easily able to make it up there. And I know quite a few people were as well. So if you're wanting to push for those top ranks, then 100% do it. And the rewards that you actually get from hitting that are insane. Like, because isn't rank 1 like 2 LD units, 40 reroll things, and like they're insane.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of resources that you get for getting into the top 5. I think top 5 was like stupid amount of resources. You were like leaps and bounds ahead of people in terms of like the reroll dice and your LD pools and stuff like that. And so that's why I'm asking you this question, because if we are a PvP player by first, right? Like you and I, we're both PvP players first, PvE player last, right? That's our secondary thing. And if we go by this framework of we are PvP player first, and if we're not doing PvP, we should always be striving to improve and mainly, get tofu acquisitions wherever we can, and resources that will help boost our PvP performance wherever we can through PvE. And knowing that Nether Quarry is one of those PvE contents that will do that for you, don't you think that maybe taking one step back with your tofu allocations towards units that you want to build for PvP, to build the PvE units to get you to the top 5, in order to boost you into PvP, a higher echelons of PvP ranking or elo or account roster? Wouldn't you think that that should be the case? That we should be really focusing down into Nether Quarry in order to get to all of that goodies in the top 5?
I don't think it's as straightforward as that, because if you look at it, if you're wanting to do that, you really need to. You can't just lattice Chloros. You also need to lattice Rosa, because if you're committing to one, you need to commit to both. There's no point in kind of half baking it, in my mind, or at least that's the way I would look at it. So you're committing what 24 lattices there, which is over the course of Nether. Like, to get the benefit from that, you'd need to run Nether Quarry 6 times. And finish in the top 4, 5, 6 times to actually reap the rewards where it's kind of positive. Like, obviously you'd be gaining the rewards every single time, but I'm to turn it into a net positive, you'd need to continually do it and continually finish in those top 4 or 5, which I think is pretty inconsistent. So from the way that I would approach it is I'd just look at it of what can I do to get the highest amount of rewards with the minimal investment. So always aiming for, say, top 100 or top 200. And at the moment, I can do that with Fungus. So I'm going to continue doing it with Fungus.
That's fair.
Until there's someone else, or until there's something like, say for example, people start to build Rosa and Chloros, because there is people that are more PvE centric. I'm not. Then I might need to look at it and think, okay, do I need to push more for this? But right now, for me, no, because there's too many units that I still need to build, and the meta is always evolving. Like at the moment, I don't have Tsukiyomi built, I don't have Beyonton built. I want to try and get some Cleave built. I need to build more. I need to build Nahor. I need all these other units, and Nahor. Some of these units can be used in Nether Quarry. Like Nahor was used in Nether Quarry. So I'd benefit from doing that. But the PvE pure units at the moment, for me, no. But that's just my opinion.
That's a fair assessment, because we have to ask these kind of questions, because that's how us, as like pro players, how we think. Like if we want to get the best rewards out of one of the best PvE contents in terms of rewards, do we optimize a little bit for that in order to get all of that goodies, in order to also indirectly optimize for PvP? And that is a question that I had to ask to see where you stand on that, because I'm the laziest PvE player you will ever find. I just slap whatever and I will just go. But even for me, when I was playing Nether Quarry, I was like, I need to get to Overlord as fast as possible so that I can stay Overlord and constantly get the highest amount of fragments every day, so that I can create a tofu a lot quicker than the people who are in the bottom rank.
Do you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
Nether Quarry forced me to use gear loadouts. I hadn't used them for the whole time.
Same. Actually, same.
I was still my RTA gear is what I used for PvE. So when I was farming Doki and all that, it was my RTA gear. I didn't change anything, but I had to change everything for Nether Quarry. So finally set up PvP loadouts.
I finally made sure that I had proper presets on my actual team formations that I was going to use, because I use that as my loadout now. And I will actually create a set for, let's say, for Ray Mary, because when you were doing the Ho Yan and the other one where the boss just never took a turn, you needed White Fang to constantly give you that output of damage. And so I just created this whole set that is Fury Edge Momentum for Raymary on White Fang so that she can constantly do that kind of damage. And I've never done that ever for any PvE content. I will be real with you. But because the competition that I was in, because I was racing to get to Overlord as fast as I could, I was fighting with some real sweaty people. Holy shit. And so I had to do it. I had no choice. I forced myself to do it.
Yeah. I think if I could change one thing about Nether Quarry, and it's something we slightly touched on before though, was I'd probably just remove the 3 attempt limit, because the vast majority of people that are pushing for the high ranks anyway are just alt F4ing the game and then resetting over and over, maybe 20, 30 plus times. So if people are going to do that, just remove it. Let them have fun with the PvE content and play it as much as they want, because people like PvE content pushing for the highest scores, and it's just kind of a hindrance to them by having to alt F4, reset the game, blah blah blah. So I don't know. I just think that would be a small QL change that they could do, because people are going to do it regardless.
Oh no, I'm right behind you on that one. I think that if you're gonna this Nether Quarry, I want to assume that it's the first time they've done it. They're just testing the waters. Yeah. Feedbacks are always great when it's like proper, criticism. That I like, right? Like Nether Quarry, get rid of the limits. Just let us have fun. Constantly do it. We're still going to alt F4 anyway. Doesn't matter. Just let us have fun.
Because I remember there was a guy in my union. We all didn't know about the alt F4 thing at the start. I think I said this to you.
Yeah.
But he was like, I want to try some weird comps, but I feel like I can't because I've only got 3 attempts. And I was like, I feel that. And I was like, you use your attempts. Tell me what works so that I don't waste mine.
Yeah, we found out pretty early because we have some PvE sweats in church, and it was actually a funny story because it happened on accident in our guild.
Really?
He was trying it. He was doing it on his phone. He was on his second attempt. He was doing it on his phone, and his system crashed. He went back in, and the ticket did not get used. And it was like, wait a minute. So he tried it again. And this time when he went in, he clicked start, went halfway through, he force closed it, and saw that it was still 2 tickets, and he was like, guys, I found a loop. And I think that just spread like wildfire after that.
I'm very jealous.
Yeah, it was a lucky thing because he was using some fucking Chinese brand phone that just constantly crashed. But that's a story for another day. All right, I guess.
I do.
Yeah.
I do think Nether Quarry is a great change though, and
it's
the best PvE content we have.
It's great. I'll tell you why. It's because this game is a PvP game, and what they managed to do was create a PvPvE, player versus environment, which is fantastic. I like that. That's amazing.
Next thing, let us do guild versus guild PvE. That would be.
I think that will come. I think that could come. I'm not gonna lie to you, because we can see just from the hyper talk how they are doing all of these improvements in the background, and they're actually taking a lot of the feedbacks that are constructive into consideration, and they're giving it to us by bits and pieces. They're slowly leaking it out. I like that. That's perfect, right? The most important thing is I'll give you a story about BMW. Okay, BMW have models that are 7-8 models ahead of what you currently have, but they only sell you the stuff that they have now, and they give minor tweaks to it, and then they sell it to you every year, right? Because that way you will always want to come back and see what the next new thing is. If they just give you the thing that is like right in the future that they already created, right, which is like 7-8 models in, you're gonna get pretty fucking bored of BMW very quickly, especially if you're a car enthusiast, right? So that model brought into Etheria Restart is how they are dripping little bits of QOL bit by bit by bit by bit. If they give us all in one sitting, there's no game anymore. I don't think. It's just gonna be like, oh, this is just a perfect game, alright, that's it. Next.
No, I can see that. That's actually a good argument. Didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. But all right, let's wrap this up with a question that I want to pose to you.
Okay.
Out of the 5 units that we saw, Lowen, Santik, Palin, Senyu, and Familia, which one is your favorite? Just by its looks.
I can't remember their name, but it's the one with the kind of lilac hair.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what?
Is it the angelic one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Palin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's my favorite color, so that's that's why.
Fair.
So
Fair.
yeah. I don't know what style of unit she's going to be. Because she's got wings, I would assume a healer or some type of supportive unit. But,
Yeah, she definitely looks supportive to me. For me, it's Lowen.
Yeah,
it has to be Lowen.
Lowen.
Oh my
Why?
god, she is so mummy. when I was looking, when I watched her PV and the way she was standing and stuff like that, I'm like, oh my god, yes.
Trust
this
you
is
to
it.
pick the one with chains as well.
No, I mean, you had to go there. I was slow. I was trying so hard to hide it, but you. Yes. Yes, and we will not extrapolate on that.
But notice none of us picked Santik.
No, I mean, it's cool. He's cool, but he just gives me the J-Rock vibe, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does.
Yeah, and I'm not a husbando guy, so I'm a waifu guy.
No. Although I will say my favorite character in the game is Kakardi.
I can see why. And we're getting a new skin, and we're getting the skin for him. So do you feel bad for buying it?
Wait, we're getting a skin for it?
Yeah, in the 7 days, they're giving out a free skin, and Kokardi is part of it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. No, I don't feel bad. It was money well spent.
Money well spent.
I've bought like 2 skins. One of them's Kakardi.
I've bought 3 skins now. First one being Lilium, because I really like the police outfit. Second one is Ray Mary, because Ray Mary's the red and black angel color is just insane. I'm like, holy shit, I need it. And the last one is Navet, because that Navet color, purple black, oof. Maybe that's why I like Lowen.
Fair. So, I thought you would have went for the other one as well then. She's purple and black.
Which one?
The same one as me, the one with the angel wings.
Oh, yeah, the purple and black one?
Yeah, she's behind me on the right.
The elf-looking one?
Yeah.
That's Palin. That's Senyu. That's Senyu. I thought you were talking about the other one, which also has angel wings, to be fair. You're talking about the one with the spear, right?
The one with the lilac hair.
Does she hold a spear?
Does she have a spear? I don't know. I'm looking at the picture. I can't see a spear.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe we are. I'm getting them mixed up as well. To be fair, so I was thinking about the actual angel one.
Because the other one that looks like Huohuo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm confused now.
No, I'm confused. Anyway, right smack in the middle, right here, that you guys can see. You can see I'm already showcasing Lowen anyway, because that's my girl. Holy shit. Anyway, that is how I would like to wrap up the whole podcast. I think we covered a lot of interesting topics and ideas for RTA balancing and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because this was a fantastic conversation with Bok. Thank you once again. Do you have any final words?
No, just thanks for having me. It was great to be here. Enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. That is going to be Bok's channel. Go over there and support him. Alright guys. But without further ado, that is the entire podcast. Hopefully you guys found value. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.